Okay, so about yesterday, this is what happened. Today is the 3rd of July. Tomorrow is the 4th. Yesterday, I waited till about 9:25, 9:30 p.m. to go to Grant Street drive-thru. I went over there and I got two Black and Milds. Um, when I left, on my way back, as I was like crossing the street to turn onto Upland, which is the street I live on, the guy that stays right across the street from me was approaching the corner, and he stopped, and he was trying to get me to take a ride with him, and I was like, no, blah 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 or whatever, and he's like, man, come on, blah blah blah. And so we went back and forth for a little bit, like the handicapped guy that stays in that corner house, 1161 I think it is, on Grant. Like, he literally got off the porch when he seen me talk to somebody and came and stood like feet from us, like, and started, silently, kind of silently humming unglued. Like, neither one of us could make out what he was saying, but neither one of us was really paying him a whole lot of attention either, other than taking notice and, letting each other know that we took notice of that. So, he, so we went back and forth a little bit, and then I was like, okay, 30 minutes. I'm like, he's like, man, come on, something, blah blah blah. And I'm like, 30-hour max, you know. And I was like, okay. So I go and I get in on the other side of the car, and he goes to the marathon on South Main Street. That was the first place we went to. Um, he was asking me if I like loud music, and I'm like, yeah. And we went there, and we got beer and a filter till Black and Mild. So when we left, we took a little ride to the west side, and that was really it, and then we came back or whatever. Okay, so then we came back, and this is like an hour, like, on the dot. But when we came back or whatever, mind you, you just saw, well, you didn't just see, but you'll probably see the video prior to this one, where he's like, come on, you're my neighbor or whatever, like, you live right across the street from us. So he was like acting like it would be okay to give me a ride or whatever. And the thing, I'm gonna not bounce around too much about all the other details. So when we get back, he goes down Stanton to Sherman, right by the corner of Upland. And that's where I get out. And he's like, he asks us for a hug or whatever. And, he was telling me that her and him were on bad terms. And while I was with him, she called him and she asked him for her $20 and hung up. And he was like, you see what I'm talking about? And he explained that he only has one little kid by her, but he does have 5 kids. So, and he told me he worked at Little Tights as a tow motor operator and a couple of other things. And if you're, did you see any of 2019? You might have. I mean, that's out there where I've talked about Little Tights being the sweatshop. I worked there for like 2 days. And they're acting like I'm not alone at this part. That's part of the reason why I started doing this video. I was attempting to watch a movie before this, but it's going to do nothing but drain my battery, so I might as well wait till I get home. But that gang sucker over there is from the Firestone branch library. Had service every long time. And he acted like he was just passing through, but then he doubled back and sat in the bench nearest me. Or not nearest me, but there's one closer. So anyways, I get out and he's like, can I have a hug or whatever? Or before that he was asking me, he was like, well, how am I going to get a hold of you or whatever? He was like, because he was asking me what I was about to do, and I was like, I'm going to the park. He's like, I can come to the park with you or whatever. I'm like, no, I'm going to be, I got some stuff to work on or whatever. And he was like, oh, okay. He was like, well, how am I going to get a hold of you? He was like, he said, you got my number in your phone? And I was like, yeah. And he said something like, because he's not able to get a hold of me. And I was like, here, take my number, because that's a way out. Okay? So I gave him my number. And he came around the car to give me a hug. And when he did, he tried to slip me some tongue. And I'm like, really? Tongue? Like, where you... And he's like, what? And I'm like, no. And so I take off. And he actually tried it again. He was like, after I kind of resisted, he backed off. And then he came back in for another hug and was going to try to slip me some tongue again. And I told him he was a mess and left. So I get to my apartment and I'm like trying to situate my bag so that I eat something really quick so I can run off and come down here. And this is late now, so it's like, not late, but it's like 11, so not an abnormal time for me to come to the park and hang in my hammock or whatever. And he was like, well, that's when the text messages started. Oh wow, and now there's folks sitting over in the chair nearest me. So I'm gonna have to tone it down a little bit, but I'm gonna show you these texts. Bear with me. The screen lock on this phone always gives me a problem. No, I did not say call. They're trying to call him. I think it hung up before the call went through. You see how they be fucking up my functions? Okay, so here's these text messages. I'm just gonna read them. So at 10:40 he sent me a text message and he's like, where you at? And I'm like, I'm headed to the park now. And he's like, I'm here. I said, what you doing tomorrow? And he said nothing. And I said, want a shot? Because the last conversation that we had was about, he was like trying to see me again when I came back from the park or whatever. So that's why I mentioned tomorrow. And he said nothing. And then I asked him if he wanted a shot because he said that he was here. And when he said he was here, I thought he was talking about right across the street, like at home, but he wasn't there. So I said, you want a shot? I said, it's cheap stuff, but it'll get you where you need to be, get you where you're going or whatever, laugh out loud. And he said, yeah, I do. And he said, so then a minute later he says, where you at? And I said, I can bring it out on my way out. About to fix it, give me 3 minutes. He said, okay, come on. And then he said, want to be intimate with you. And I said, where are you at? Because now I'm outside and I don't see his vehicle or whatever. And I said, I just left Upland on Sherman. He said, okay, on Grant. I said, I thought you was across the street. Laugh out loud. He said, coming on Sherman. I said, okay. He said, what you doing? I said, at the park. Oh, okay. So then I see him and he's like, that little loop of conversation again, or whatever. Let me see. Hold up. So we were talking or whatever, and he's like, "Yeah, I want to see you," and I'm like, "Okay, well, no," and I was like, "Well, like, how are you gonna get out?" Like, and he was like, and I was like, "And I live right across the street from you," and he was like, "Well, she sleep hard," and I was like, "Are you serious?" And he was like, "Yeah, trust me, like she sleeps hard." He was like, "It's pretty much nothing," or whatever, and I was like, "Oh, okay." Well, I was like, "Well, I'll give you a text or whatever, or send you a text or something and let you know." And he was like, "Okay," and then we parted or whatever. And so then a little while later, while I was at the park, so this is like, let me see what time it is. So then at like 11:39, he says, "What you doing?" I said, "I'm at the park, hanging in my hammock, working on an outline for a video." And I said, "You?" He said, "Waiting on you." And then he said, "Hello." And I said, "I'm here." He said, "Where?" I said, and then he said, "Hello" again. And I said, "I can't believe you're willing to come across the street. Those in the duplex, meant to say apartment beneath me are snitches. And I said, "I don't just have anyone in my place either. Although we're dogs, would you be okay with chilling on my porch, still at the park?" And he said, "Fuck them. No, they don't know I'm coming over. Just come on." I said, "Right. As you know, it's tucked so no." I'm talking about my porch. I said, "Right. As you know, it's tucked so no one would see you." And he said, "I can't be intimate with you at the park. Not only she want me to. Well, what you gonna do?" I said, "Phil, I'm not trying to be intimate. I have not been touched in a long time. How do you feel about that?" And he said, "Well, let me touch you and it will be so good." And I said, laugh out loud, "No, no, 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 no." And he said, "What you scared of?" I said, "I got real problems and no dick can fix it. It's cool that you're interested in all, but you don't know what I got going on." I said, "I'm on foot and on the bus for a reason. I know you don't really know me, but if you knew me and how I operate, you know something really bad has been done to me." I said, did you notice I'm missing a front tooth?" And then I said, "And I've never done drugs." And then I said, "You there?" Because he didn't respond no more. And that's been it. Like, he never responded again. So on my way out today, I see him. And he's like grilling, like behind his vehicle or whatever. And he's grilling behind his vehicle. And he happens to catch a glance of me while I'm like headed towards the end of the driveway checking my mailbox. And I'm like, he's like, he didn't do the thing that he normally does. He was like, "Where you going?" But trying not to be too loud. And then he was like kind of tucked to try to make sure he wasn't being seen or whatever. And I was like, "To the park," like, and looking at him like, "What are you doing?" And laughing at the same time. And he was like, he just shot me a couple of looks, and that was that. But he has that text sense, which is good. And he didn't come following behind me. But right after that, as soon as I hit the corner, I ran into Juju, who I met 2.5. Well, I've been in my apartment 2.5 years, so it's been about 2 years ago. I met him spring of 2019. I was walking to EZ Market, and he came to talk, came to show interest, and he carried my umbrella for me and carried my bag back. And then I didn't call him, and I was still having some really, really, really crazy situations with my phones going on. And yeah, I ran into him, and that video will probably be next.